Most people are pretty familiar with the iconic tale Frankenstein, but I think people don't realize that the original story was written by a teenage girl. Mary Shelley is often credited as being the mother of modern science fiction, but I personally see her as like an OG goth girl. When her husband died, she supposedly kept what she believed to be his heart wrapped in a piece of his poetry in his desk all the way up until her very own passing. Now, whether that's truly fact or if it's lore, it is still very on brand for her. She was a woman carved out of intelligence, grief, rebellion, and romance, and she left behind a legacy that shaped horror, philosophy, science fiction, and monster mythology. Her most famous creation poses a question that almost every artist has questioned themselves in their creative journey. Where does the artist end and the creation begin? To fully understand Mary, we do have to begin with her extraordinary parents. She was born in 1797 to two of the most radical thinkers of their age. Her father was William Godwin, who was a philosopher who believed that organized religion stunted human potential and that society should be built purely on reason and compassion. He was a pretty connected man and had several influential figures frequenting their home, such as Aaron Burr, the former vice president, as well as poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge. He wrote political texts that challenged government itself and had arguments so ahead of their time that it was pretty much considered dangerous. Her mother, Mary Wollstonecraft, was considered even more revolutionary. She wrote The Vindication of the Rights of Women, one of the earliest feminist manifestos, arguing that women were not naturally inferior but made that way by a lack of education and restrictive roles. Her ideas very much clearly still echo today. Thank goodness. M met William in the summer of 1796 through mutual friends in the same offbeat social circles that they both frequented. But young Mary unfortunately never got the chance to know her mother. Wollstonecraft died only 11 days after giving birth to Mary. This left Mary with a lifelong ache, but it also gave her a fascination for motherhood, rebirth, creation, and death. These themes would follow her for the remainder of her life. As a child, Mary received a pretty limited formal education, though her father really did take it upon himself to ensure that she received tutoring in several subjects. Mary's father, William, would eventually remarry another woman named Mary. I'm just going to call her Jane because that's her middle name. Her name is actually Mary Jane Clairmont, and the dynamic very quickly shifted. Mary idolized a mother that she had never met, and her stepmother felt threatened by that legacy. It's also said that William's friends didn't quite take to Jane as she was considered quarrelsome and quick-tempered. It seems as if it was easier for her stepmother if Mary just simply wasn't there. She grew up feeling like an outsider in her own family, and this is a wound that actually echoes the monster that she later creates. Mary was often pushed aside and often overshadowed by her new half-brother and was eventually sent away to Scotland under the guise of improving her health.
Okay.
In 1814, at just 16 years old, Mary, our young, wonderful heroine, does meet Percy Bysshe Shelley. I hope I'm saying that right because Bish? It might be Bysshe, I'm not sure. He was married at the time. He was separated, but this was not without scandal. I will also add there was a little bit of an age gap here. Mary was 16, Percy was 21.
Right to jail, right away.
But Mary and Percy's connection was instantaneous and intense. They began secretly meeting at Mary's mother's grave at St. Pancras Churchyard, and this is where it is believed that Mary pretty iconically lost her virginity. It was morbid, romantic, and very, very merry. They ran away to Europe with Mary's stepsister Claire, and the scandal was enormous. Mary became alienated from her father, struggled financially, and eventually faced unimaginable grief. Her first child had passed prematurely at just 11 days old. She even wrote in her journal that she had dreamed that her baby had returned to life. This was only the beginning. Over the next few years, Mary would lose more children, half-sister Franny to suicide, Percy's estranged wife to suicide, and ultimately, Percy himself. Grief shaped Mary and her creative path. In 1816, Claire, Mary, Percy, and Lord Byron would all spend the summer together in Switzerland at Byron's Villa Diodati. A very quick personal commentary on how complicated these relationships were, by the way. Let me get this right. Okay, hold on. Mary's stepsister, Claire, was having an affair with Lord Byron, who at the time was also married. She is pregnant with his child during these events. At some point, Mary's husband, Percy, also has an affair with Claire, and the three of them spent a great deal of time living together and just traveling together. It's also interesting to note that though Mary and Lord Byron had a lot of conflicting ideologies, they had a great deal of respect for each other. Mary was said to have been attracted to him, though I couldn't find any evidence of her and him actually having having an affair together either. This social circle was really big in believing in free love, so I'm not quite sure the social romantic dynamics that were occurring here. This close group of friends was very clearly a very close group of friends. During this time, it wasn't uncommon for certain people to take lovers because marriages were often arranged. They were typically pretty loveless and just more for status or political reasons. It was very interesting to read about. I was just very curious about it. And I don't know how happy Mary was in this dynamic. So the four of them end up spending a whole summer together, and this is called the year without a summer. Constant storms, dark skies, and an eerie sense of isolation caused by a volcanic eruption on the other side of the world. There's no modern technology, no phones, no computers, no TVs to distract you, so they basically just spent a lot of time telling ghost stories. Mary is still grieving the loss of her firstborn child. She's emotionally exhausted, she's drained. She is only 18 years old at this point. And one stormy, fateful night, Lord Byron challenged everyone. Let's write a ghost story. Days passed, she's listening to the men debate philosophy, science, and religion, and she's contemplating quietly. But one night, unable to sleep, she has what she calls a waking dream. She wrote, "I saw the pale student of unhallowed arts kneeling beside the thing he had put together. Frightful must it be, for supremely frightful would be the effect of any human endeavor to mock the stupendous mechanism of the Creator." The original story is a little bit different than what Hollywood had eventually turned it into, but just to give you a very brief synopsis of the original tale, it goes like this. Victor Frankenstein is a young, brilliant scientist haunted by the death of his mother. Obsessed with conquering mortality, he assembles a body with stolen parts and brings it together using modern science. But it works, and the moment the creature opens his eyes, he is rejected in fear and horror by his creator. At first, the creature is very innocent, like a newborn baby stepping foot into the world. He flees and tries to learn about the world around him. He teaches himself to speak, to read, and to survive. He attempts kindness by saving a drowning girl, only to be shot by her father, who misinterprets the creature as trying to actually drown her instead of save her. Everywhere he goes, he is greeted with violence and disgust. But he wasn't born a monster. He was made one by rejection and by fear. Finally, when he is able to track down his creator, he begs for one thing: a companion. Someone who won't fear him, someone who won't judge him, and someone who can exist alongside him for the remainder of their eternity together. Victor agrees and begins to build her, but at the very last moment panics because he imagines the creatures procreating, and the knowledge of knowing that they could create a more fearsome creature or a race of creatures absolutely terrifies him. So instead of completely following through, he destroys her. The creature feels alone and heartbroken. Devastated and enraged, he turns all of that energy back into destroying Victor. There's a few more turns of events and a series of deaths, but ultimately the novel ends with Victor dead and the creature promising to destroy himself. He was a tragic figure who never asked to be born. And it's pretty clear that Frankenstein isn't just a monster story, it's also a story about rejection, responsibility, abandonment, grief, and the fear of being unlovable. One of my favorite misconceptions about this story is that oftentimes when you refer to Frankenstein, people imagine the actual monster, but that's not the case. Victor Frankenstein is the creator of the monster. The monster doesn't have a name, he's just the creature. He is the byproduct of the monstrous capabilities of man. And I think for Mary, this reckless creation stems from a lot of different places. She was surrounded by the Industrial Revolution and the booming of technology in a way that the likes of the world had never before seen. There was a huge separation from the natural world and the old way of doing things. Technology was evolving at a rapid pace, and it probably felt a little bit like people around her were playing God. She was also surrounded by a lot of men who I feel embodied certain aspects of Victor. I think from a personal standpoint, Mary have also viewed herself as a reflection of the creature. There were several times in Mary's life where she felt rejected by her father. Mary and Percy did not have a very long marriage, as Percy actually did pass away around the age of 29, when his sailboat sank in a storm off the coast of Italy. During his cremation, it appears that certain parts of his body, notably his heart, refused to burn. Some people believe that his heart was partly calcified due to a previous affliction with tuberculosis. Some people believe that Mary kept what she thought was a heart, and perhaps it was another body part altogether. Ultimately, I personally don't feel that it matters whether or not it really truly was a heart. What matters is that Mary believed that it was a heart, which today sounds a little bit morbid, but for the time period, that was actually pretty common. People would keep different artifacts of family members, such as bones, teeth, hair. Post-mortem photography was really big during this time. Mary only lived to the age of 53 and passed from what is believed to be complications of cancer, but she continues to live on as the mother of modern science fiction. Her story, much like the creature, refuses to die. If you've made it to the very end of the video, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. My name is Lonnie, and for the next 13 episodes, I will be creating a series surrounding the bad women of art and history. When I say art, this is an umbrella term that can embody painting, sculpting, dancing, acting, writing, singing, whatever it is in the creative field, you name it. These are women that changed the game for creatives forever. I already have a list of women that I'm working on, but if there's somebody that you'd specifically like to hear about, I'll definitely consider it. Feel free to drop a name in the comments. I'll do a little bit of research. I did want to apologize as well. I did drop a video a few weeks ago and then took a very quick break. It was the holiday. There was a lot going on in my family's life. I also got engaged, so I'm a fiance now, which is extremely exciting. I've just been soaking it up and just really enjoying the journey, but this channel is not going anywhere. We're still going to be creating. I'm also an artist myself, so if any of you guys want to follow me on any of my social media accounts, feel free to check out the links below. Stay tuned for more future videos, and I will see you guys next time.